God, I'm good looking. This is a preface of the preface I've just recorded. So the next time you see me, I'm in my shed introducing the video, which I'm now introducing. The whole idea of today was to take Spurt Reynolds out and do a review on him. Basically, is the ZZR sort of a good buy today? Is it relevant to today's market? The basic crux of it is yes, of course it is. You know, unfortunately, as I've mentioned on many other videos, the GoPro was dog shit and kept cutting out and all this lot. Now I don't know this because the screen is still live on the camera, and because the camera's like here, I can't actually see if the recording thing's on, so I don't actually know whether it's recording and whether it's shut off until I look at the footage. So that's why it's a very fractured video. But anyway, I thought the footage was good enough to put up, and so we'll carry on. So next time you see my absolutely beautiful face, it's in the shed. Better get on with it then, haven't we? Oh, Aprilia, you beautiful thing, sat here with Phyllis. Can't think of anything that rhymes. We've got staff doing the garden. There's the doggy. He's looking for me. There's my brother-in-law. Yes, you bloody do. Anyway, I've been out on Spurt Reynolds. Just a little run round the country lanes, and for some mysterious reason I ended up at my favourite cafe near Melton Mowbray, the Welcome Cafe, and I had rather delicious lemon meringue pie and a latte. A bloody good coffee, bloody good food, love it there. There are very, very few places I will go on my own, that's one of them. But anyway, let's talk about GoPro again. I put my GoPro on the helmet as usual, as you're going to see, and I took 2 batteries out, and the doggy's looking for me, can you hear him? And I must have took well over an hour's footage, an hour and a half footage, and it turns out it didn't record half of it, because it starts to record, it will do about 10 minutes, and then it will just stop recording. The camera's on, but it will just stop recording. It is voice activated, but I try to deliberately not say any of the words that will operate it, basically. Get your words out. So yes, so the following is a little condensed waffle on the CBR. I hope you enjoy it, but as usual the GoPro hasn't recorded half the shit, so GoPro utter fucking crap. Nice. Roll VT. Indeed. Right, let's go then. So I just had to pull over to turn on the Pro of Go. Yes, well that was just interesting. I've just whipped the Z out for now, and it wouldn't turn over. The starter motor span. Let me shut my visor, just got to move you to do that. I can't get out the fucking way. Yes, yeah, there we go. The starter motor span, and then there was a clunk from inside the engine. And you know, sometimes it's the sprag clutch chain. I don't know what you call it on one of these actually. The ZX10s used to do it. Sometimes that can stick a little bit, and if you rock the bike, it starts again. Sometimes it can be a bit of a sticky clutch, but it doesn't normally stop the bike turning over. I thought, you know, just in case, even though the fuel tap's been off and what have you, I thought just in case it's hydrolocked, try and spin it over on a full throttle. So anyway, I rocked it in gear, tried the starter with a full throttle, and Hey presto, it turned over again, so I don't know what's gone on there, because like I say, it's been stored with the fuel tap off. The oil doesn't smell like petroleum distillate, so I think probably it's just being temperamental. 90% mental, the other temper. So anyway, I've got a day off and I thought I'd bring us out, and I thought I would talk about ZZR600 and whether it is a relevant machine today. I could make this a very, very short video and just say yes. Yeah, it is. The ZZR fortunately comes from an era when they put proper seats on motorcycles and thought about pillions and thought about you carrying luggage. Now when this came out, it was in the lineup as a sports bike and a sports tourer, and it was not slow. It was the fastest 600 of its era. I do believe 156 miles an hour if we're going on top speed. Don't quote me on that. I am just taking it easy today. Nice Capri there. I do like to see a Capri. There was obviously a time when they were incredibly unfashionable, but fortunately those times have gone. It's a bit like motorcycles. Motorcycles go round in a loop as well. From incredibly unfashionable and we wouldn't ride that with a shitty stick, to we've got to have this now and let's stick an £8,000 price tag on it. Swings and roundabouts, ladies and gents, swings and roundabouts. I think if anything is going to get more of a cult following, it will be the original CBRs. ZZRs have always had a very, very solid fan base. They've always had a good following, and for a great reason, because this is a 1993 bike, and it was the first of the E model, which was the first major update to the ZZR line since the very first C1s. The C1s were not slow by any means, but this improved upon it. This had a fully working ram air system, which does work. If you ever bugger around with the airbox like this, or the intake pipes and all that stuff are not fully sealed up, these will run like a bag of shite. And another cause of bad running is there is a plastic plate which sits on top of the it looks like I've got an indicator bulb out. We'll have to rectify that one. Front one's still working, so it's the rear, so I'll just have to be wary of that. Thank you. Bloody hell, an Audi giving way? What the fuck is wrong with the world? I think I better go back and start again. These are just my local country lanes. I just come down here to stretch the legs of the bikes. There's a lot of agricultural traffic, horsey traffic, so we don't get daft. Plus the fact I'm on what is relatively to me a loud machine. So we don't want to announce our presence to man, God and Plod. Right, so anyway, yes, it's got a full ram air system, which does make a difference. And you just pull straight out, mate. Alright, he did have plenty of time, let's be fair, and it's a Range Rover Discovery and it can get its toe down, and there you go, it's not in my way anymore. So yeah, it had the ram air system and it works, basically. Anything above 50 miles an hour, the carburetors are being pressurised properly. I've showed you before on some other videos when I was sorting the airbox out that there is a snout, a metal snout inside the air intakes, and that diverts air straight into the top of the carby tinkle winkles and pressurises them. And it works. It's a system that it was proven to work. They fitted it on the ZZR, and pretty much most manufacturers went that way afterwards. I mean, basically it's 3 horsepower if you're using the air. So is it still a relevant bike today? Absolutely. You can pick them up very, very cheap. Personally, I am of the ilk where I would sooner, you know, buy a bike for £1,000, 1,500 quid, whatever, a lot less if necessary, do it up, get it roadworthy, and then I'm not paying £250 a month for a bike I'll never own. You know, and it's mine. It also has carburettors. I can fix it at the side of the road, fingers crossed. And you know, it's now, these bikes are becoming cult bikes, all the 90s bikes. The thing is, I was around when these were new, and I was riding when these were new, and these were dream bikes when I was on L plates. My first big bike, and my friends, was going to be a ZZR600. Now, they might scoff at that in America, but 250, anything above a 125 is classed as a big bike here. Big bike being a sort of an umbrella term, because my dad wouldn't have thought a 250 was a big bike. You know, anything above a 500 was a big bike to my dad. But his capacity's never bothered me. As long as the bike does what it should and it's fun, then, you know, it can be any capacity it likes. But the ZZR, when it came out, it was the most powerful. It didn't handle badly, and they don't handle badly now. But obviously, everybody used to glorify the CBR600, which in my opinion is a dull bike. It's because it's so good at what it does, it's dull. And VFR 750s are like that. They're so good, they're boring. They have no vices at all. And that's what makes them dull to me. I am not into dullness. I'm going to follow Mr. Tracty Wactor for a while. And I can get past him here quite safely. Here we go. There we go. And yes, it's basically the CBR. Want to go on a track day, put some slicks on it, or some very, very sticky tyres, and it'll do its track day. Stick some dual compound touring tyres on, it will take you around the world. As an all-rounder, CBR600s, they take some beating. The support network is huge, so it has a lot of plus points, but it has no character. It has absolutely no character. If you were to age a CBR today, it would be the old man in the garden centre wearing a beige cardigan with an immaculately trimmed white moustache and beard, with his resting bitch face wife sat next to him going, "Gerald, I think you should buy these slippers." That is a CBR. ZZRs, Kawasaki's, to some extent Suzuki's, have always been a slightly more hooligan, and so much better for it. The ZZR is your daft grandad. The grandad that's still dancing around the patio. The grandad that refuses to wear beige cardigans. You know, still listens to Def Leppard and shit like that. Never gone to church other than at school at Christmas. It's funny enough, because when this was out, Yamaha I don't believe Yamaha had the Thundercat out at the time. That came along very slightly later, I think around 94. I'm going to have to check that because I'm not too sure. But their 600 offering was the FZR, which was an out-and-out race rep. Projector headlights, look the business, terrible colour schemes, absolutely bloody awful. Unless you had the silver, white and red, absolutely fucking terrible. You know, there were purples and all that shit going. Lovely, lovely. Well, I have just had, as I'm sure I'm going to put a picture up, a lovely slice of lemon meringue pie and a beautiful latte at the Welcome Cafe near Twyford, Melton Mowbray. Highly recommended, very bike friendly. Yes, it's got a gravel drive, but you know, take your time, nice and steady. It's absolutely fine. There was actually she was telling me there was a motorcyclist come up here the other week saying, oh, there was a motorcyclist here the other week who said, I represent such and such motorcycle group and I've come to check out the calf, but I'm not going to recommend it because of your driveway. And there's nothing wrong with the driveway if you're nice and steady. Right, lovely. Here we go then. I hope I remembered to turn the fuel on. Here we go then, visor shutting. Beautiful. And move the camera, dick shit. There we go. That was bloody lovely. Nice slice of lemon meringue pie and a latte. Nice little ride out. It's about, I can't remember exactly, between 25 and 28 miles from home, so it's a nice distance to get out. These are nice roads. They're very, very popular with motorcyclists. Unfortunately, the majority of them absolutely twat down them. And there are some, there's a lot of agricultural traffic. You know, you could bitch it's 50 miles an hour for a reason, and it is. It's because they've had some very nasty accidents along here. You know, it is what it is, but I highly recommend it. It's, like I say, it's bike friendly, bloody good food, good atmosphere. It is one of the very, very few places that I will go on my own and I don't feel like a gooseberry. You know, everybody knows you. But yeah, it's good. I highly recommend the cheesecakes. They are absolutely stunning. Might go there tomorrow because I've got my, hopefully, fingers crossed, got my old biker sis coming out tomorrow. So I don't know whether I'll take the Aprilia or I'll take the Z, because she has a knee op, so it's a long, long time since she's been on a bike and she's not sure whether she's up to it yet. So we'll go and find out. Oh, but Jesus, I should have had a pool when I was there, because I think the fact that I've got is the buffer, and once that goes, we are in turd straining territory. Right then, ZZR600E, is it a relevant bike today? Absolutely yes. This bike to me, I'm going to call it free. I swapped the ZX10 for it, so to me it's a free bike. I adored the ZX10 when it was first out. It was my dream bike. You know, been there, done that now, and I didn't gel with it. That's a simple fact. But I've always fancied a ZZR. It's just that whenever I was in the position to be looking at one, something else came along that tickled me fancy, you know. So I've never scratched the ZZR itch, although I did quite early on. I had a ZZR 1100 quite soon after I passed my test, and yeah, that was alright, but it was too much at the time. It was just too much bike. And now I'm getting to be an old fart, you know, a privilege denied to many a motorcyclist. I don't need to be going round at Mach 6. So the ZZR is plenty fast enough, thanks very much. You know, I'm not one of these that has to have a Hayabusa or has to have a ZZR 1400 because I have to have the biggest bike you can get because I've got an immaculately small penis. Well, I have got the small penis, but I'm quite happy tootling around on the 125 half the time. And I always wave to my scooter brothers, you know, same wind at the end of the day. So yes, I am quite happy tooling around on a 125. That was a dick move, wasn't it? Pull out your driveway then pull there, you. Don't swear, James, it's uncouth basically. Anyway, that cunt, yes, stop it, James. So yeah, I'm quite, you know, I'll ride anything, doesn't bother me. Oh, I wasn't sure how I'd get on with the Aprilia, but I love it, absolutely love it. It's if anything, I ride it quicker than this. It doesn't have the handling of a sports orientated machine or indeed a sports tourer, but do you know what, it doesn't do bad. It does two up really well. I mean really well. I mean, superbly well. You know, I mean, I've been to up with the scooter. I've took Uncle Barnyard out on the scooter, and we had a bloody whale of a time. Because half the time we're not doing any more than 30-40 mile an hour down the country lanes anyway. So, you know, I mean, I'm currently watching. I think he's actually finished the trip now. But two chaps, one from the Isle of Wight. His channel, I'll put a link on down the description. It's called Step Away from the Screens, and he does rides for combat stress. And on this one, they did 1,000 miles on 50-year-old mopeds from the Isle of Wight. One of them was an aerial three-wheeler, and the other one was a putch, or a pooch, however you wanted to pronounce it. And oh, it's an absolute joy watching them. Absolute joy. And because it's like most of the time, they went all along the South Downs, and the generosity of people en route, you know, offering them camping spots, assistance, use of a garage and stuff like that was amazing. It really was amazing. That was a dick move by the white car. You could have waited 3 seconds, mate. You really could. But it was it's just a joy to watch. I mean, most of his films are is wild camping basically and stuff, but there are a few of these rides he's done on his channel. I think he did one that first got me hooked. He was on a C90, I believe, and he was doing something stupid, you know, like 1,000 miles on that. And that was I think he was on his own on that one, and that was really good. But he's with another chap on this one, and it just adds a whole new dynamic. If you get military humour, you'll get on with it fine. If you don't get military humour and think it's a bit brutal, you might think he's being a bit nasty towards each other on occasion. That's totally normal banter, totally normal banter. But I highly recommend to give it a watch, and if you can spare a couple of quid over to Combat Stress, which is mental health for veterans, please do so. It's a great charity, mate. Do a lot of good work for charity. Don't like to talk about it, but yeah, he's well worth a watch. So I mean, he's got bigger bikes and stuff like that, but yeah, 9 times out of 10 when you see him riding a bike on his channel, he's on the little tiddler. And it's just, if you don't ride a small bike, you will never ever understand the joy of it. It's like being 17 again, fighting for that last mile an hour and trying to maintain momentum. You know, it's your battle against slowing down. And the great thing is, a lot of the corners and stuff, especially around here, you can do absolutely flat out, pin it to the wall, and like downhill, flat out downhill, because you're going to lose 15-20 mile an hour going up it. Whereas when you ride, you know, something like the Z or even the Aprilia and stuff, you don't notice a lack of power. I mean, the Aprilia only has 50 donkeys, but it's it's only a single cylinder, but it's 5-valve head, and it's reasonably highly tuned for what it is. It's not a slouch by any means, but anyway, we're here to talk about the Z. Is it a viable bike in 2024? Absolutely. I would far sooner pick one of these up. You can get a really well sorted, looked after one, even the latest model, which I think was about 2008. You know, £1,500 if it's a private sale. You'll pay more than that in a dealer. But they're amazing. They do have common known faults, and one of them is, if they're ever stood for an amount of time, they just do not like starting. You know, you have to give it a spray of like ether or something like that to get it running. Once they're running, they're fine. They're absolutely fine. If you're only leaving it like a few days or a week, they'll be absolutely fine. But they don't like being stood. And another thing is, they have an air leak between the airbox and the carburettor. There is a plastic plate which bolts to the carburettor, and this warps with the heat cycles. And you get an air gap at the side of the carburettor. The result is it will sit and idle all day long, and at standstill it will rev. It will go right up to the red all day long. But as soon as you're moving and you're getting some air going through those snouty snouts, the carburation goes to shit, because this is a proper ram air system. There are intakes at the front for the airbox, but there's auxiliary intakes inside those intakes, and they pressurise the carburetors. And if you have an air leak between the carburetor and the airbox, it feels like your idle circuit is absolutely gone to shit. They will